for the park planning, park planning section of the Department of Parks and Recreation. We were asked to provide you guys with a briefing to more or less talk about the things that we have planned coming along the, in the pipeline for the Bowie area, to help inform you as to, the type of amenities and facilities that you like to have at the Bowie Racetrack property. So I prepared a PowerPoint. I will provide this for you at the end. Joe, I had every intention of giving this to you on Friday, but I ended up making some changes to it. But nonetheless, I'll provide it to you after this meeting. So we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm going to share my screen. And can you all see that? Can you all see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let me move this box out of my way. And we'll go ahead and get started. So our agenda this morning is to, well, we were going to do introductions, but there are quite a few people on this call. We're going to talk about your initial questions that you provided for this meeting. We'll give an overview of our county service areas. We'll talk a little about our level of service. We'll talk about how we classify our park amenities, which will help, guide you through this process as well. And then we'll talk about some specifics for service areas 3 and 6, of which Bowie is included in. And then we'll talk a little bit more about, some of our park development projects, some next steps, and then we'll have some additional Q&A at the end, going back to the questions. So you guys asked us the following questions, and so that pretty much is how this PowerPoint is set up to help to answer these questions. So the first was, what plans does Park and Recreation have planned in the area or the region around the racetrack property within 1 to 5 miles? If you look at the map on the screen, you see service areas 3 and 6, and you see the town of Bowie. And at the top, there's a blue star, which shows you the proximity of where the racetrack property is. The second question says, now that the citizens have communicated what they would like to see, where do we see a good fit? And what should you guys take off the table? The next question is, what does staff see as a must-have for the area? Fourth is, what would be a perfect fit for the racetrack location? Um, is the 50,000 square foot size of the community building sufficient, or should we think bigger? And then last, what would staff like to see at this location? Did I miss anything?
I think those were the questions.
Okay, just making sure. All right. So our service areas. We've divided the county into 9 service areas. They are not the same as the council districts at all, even though there are 9 of them. The whole point of it is to ensure that, every county resident can access at least one or more recreational facility within a 15-minute walking time. And there's a map that shows all the facilities, which is going to come up shortly. And then we also want to make sure that we provide at least 2 square feet of recreational space per resident, which would include a 1/2 square foot of aquatics. So, that was our rationale in defining these 9 service areas. But some of this I don't think is too much of a surprise to you guys. I believe that you were already familiar with this, but I thought it would be important to include it because there could be people who are new to all of this. So how we look at level of service. So we look at it pretty much holistically. We look at it, in regards to quantity, proximity, and equity. So some of those things that went into defining our service areas are, how we have looked at level of service. So we measure the quantity of parkland or amenities per person within a service area. We look at the level of service of land, facilities, amenities, and programs. And this is based on a unit per population. And we want to make sure that we determine, fairness and equity in the provision and access, because we know that, there are certain areas that are prone to have, um, you know, more things than others. And it's all about, equity, making sure that everyone has their fair share. And so some additional considerations that, will impact investment include land availability, the facility conditions, um, alternative providers, so, you guys may have additional things, the schools have additional facilities, as well as the state and federal governments, and the location of, park and recreational amenities is pretty much robust in the county, as you'll see in the upcoming maps. We want to look at, the existing land use patterns, the density, the availability of backyards and common green spaces for, residents, and we want to make sure, that visitors, have, nice things when they come to visit. This area is very prone to tourism. And then we also want to make sure that we meet, services based on interest from residents. Are there new, up and coming, amenities or parks that they like to see? So we want to try to make sure that we meet those. And so this information that you see here, um, we have defined in our LPPRP, and it's our land, park, and recreational plan. It's the plan that we submit to the state every 5 years. It basically, outlines, all our park and recreational facilities, how we're meeting our levels of service. It's also how we obtain project open space funding, which helps us, to fund a lot of our park and recreational facilities. But nonetheless, um, we have, various different classifications for our park amenities. And yes, the next couple of slides are very, very wordy. Again, I will provide this PowerPoint to you all so that you can look at it in your leisure, but I did want to make you aware that there are various different, levels regarding, each amenity, and how each of them are defined and classified. So, it's valuable to designate a level of service, so that we can equally distribute our fields, our playgrounds, and our other amenities throughout the county. We also want to make sure that we meet certain characteristics and our amenities, certain amenities and life safety facilities are present, such as, lighting, fencing. We want to make sure we have comfort stations, things are properly irrigated. We want to have ample parking. And in addition, our analysis helped us to determine that there are certain service area gaps. So, Sarah, there are certain places where certain things are missing, and we need to, provide to make sure, again, that things are equitable. So we focus on these locations and we define the areas in need of additional facilities. So, like I said, this is, it may look a little bit intimidating, but it's pretty quite simple. So we have our level 1 classifications for our playgrounds, and we talk about, them being, um, located in regional park settings. They include play equipment and structures. They have concrete edging, seating, shade structures, and they're typically 10 to 15,000 square feet. Some of the common attributes you'll see here are concrete borders, age-appropriate signage, restrooms, parking lots, and then the levels of services are 66 square feet per children, um, weighted average of 75 square feet. And like I said, it may seem a little complicated, but it really isn't. But we go through this and we look at, all of our park and recreational facilities, and we make a determination of what levels they are in. And so the next couple of slides, you'll see that these are listed. This is more or less a guide for you guys to have, so that you have a better understanding of maybe what type of level or square feet you should have of these type of facilities. The next couple of slides talks about the diamond fields, the rectangular fields, hard courts, and picnic facilities, aquatic classifications, as well as our trail classifications, our skate parks, and our dog parks. So again, like I said, this is a lot of information to synthesize, but it's going to be summarized in the upcoming slides. But I wanted to make sure that you had this background information. And again, all of this is included in our LPPRP document. So we wanted to start out with service area 3, which is where the racetrack property is located, as well as the majority of the municipal boundary. Here's the map here. The star again shows where the racetrack property is located. These are just some, general service area 3 demographics. It tells you about the household income, the race and ethnicity, what the total population is, how many people own their homes, which is indicative of Bowie as a whole. The number of, the percentage of which people own vehicles, and then the age distribution. This information, I'm sure, again, is probably not anything new to the majority of you, but again, just something we thought we would provide as background information. And so now we talk about the various different park and planning amenities that we have in service area 3. This information can be found on the Park Finder site. I have it linked at the end, so you don't have to worry about looking for it. So you see, we list all of the parks. So we have, we start with Artmore Park Building. We go all the way down to Heather Hills Parks. We talk about the total acreage of each park. And then we break them down by the amenities. How many basketball courts each have, field space, picnic areas, whether they're pools, shelters, and trails. And we do this for, all of the park and amenities located in each of the service areas. So you can see which each of them have. The next slide is just pretty much the continuation, as well as the slide. This map is basically depicting all of the information from the previous tables. And we talk about all of the various different park amenity counts. All of service area 3 has a total of 160 amenities. And we talk about how many fields there are. So we basically took that table, those tables that you saw, and we summarized it all. We put points on the map. We also highlighted some of the major parks for you: Glendale Hospital site, Kenilworth Park at Bel Air, Saddlebrook East, Horseman Park, those two which surround the racetrack. So you see all of the hard courts, diamond fields, dog parks, pools, picnic shelters, rectangular fields, and playgrounds for surface area 3. And then this map actually talks a little bit more about the proximity analysis for service area 3. So we talk about the proximity distances. So we put points on the map. It shows you where each of those park amenities are, and then we show you, the proximity distances. So I'll give you an example. Let's look at, you see where Seabrook is on the map, and you see the little green dot. You see Good Luck Road, you see Lamb Severn, and you see all of the various different smaller parks in and around that particular point. So you see the blue, it'll show you within 1/4 mile or less the various different amenities that are there. 1/2 mile is more of the orange color. Red is 1 mile or greater, and then the green is 1/4 mile to 1/2 mile. So you'll see that we do have quite a bit of park and recreational facilities, throughout service area 3. But then we also talked about in the LPPRP document, what were some of our service area targets. Don't pay attention. I mean, this table on the left-hand side could be somewhat confusing because it looks like we have no targets for total park area, but this goes back to our lowest level of service requirements as to whether or not we were meeting our targets for overall parkland. So that's why it shows up as 0. However, we do have some targets for obtaining some undeveloped parkland, which is 142 acres. When you look at the developed parkland, and so they're classified as neighborhood, community, special use, as well as regional greenways, and linear facilities. We have, no targets for those. However, we do want to obtain some skate parks, so indoor and outdoor aquatics. So we looked at, so they ran some calculations and they made a determination that, we do need these particular amenities in this service area. 14,000 square feet for skate parks, 39,000 square feet for indoor aquatics, and 6,000 square feet for outdoor aquatics. So these may be some things that you want to look at, you know, in um, in the service area. And this is service area 6, which is the southern portion of the city. Um, Again, a little bit ways away from the racetrack property. However, it's still a part of the city, and maybe um, some things that you want to make some determinations for. Again, some additional demographics about the total population for service area 6. Um, it mirrors the previous slide for service area 3. And then we'll talk about a little bit more about some of the amenities for service area 6, again, which are found in our Park Finder site. But we summarized it all here for you today. Again, the park names, acreage, and all of the different amenities for all of the parks inside of service area 6 on the following slide. So this one, the following, and the last. And again, we did the park amenity types, listing all of the various different properties throughout the district. Excuse me, the service area. So number of playgrounds, dog parks, everything we have, we put on these maps. So we tried to be, thorough with the LPPRP, and they've actually come in very handy for presentations like this with the municipalities. And again, we did the proximity analysis within the half mile and quarter mile and 1 mile densities. And as you can see, everything that's depicted on the map. Service area 6 is not as, let's say, fulfilled as service area 3 is, but it also, it's also a different, it has different characteristic than service area 3. So we looked at again how much parkland we would want, how much developed parkland we look at as far as a target is concerned. Neighborhood community parks, we felt that there is a need for those. 34 acres for neighborhood parks and 11 for community parks. And again, with the skate parks and aquatics, there is definitely a need for those in this district as well, with 11,000 for the skate parks, 16,000 for the indoor aquatics, and 5,000 for the outdoor aquatics. So based on the information that you guys sent from the survey and the community meetings, we took a look at some of the top community preferences. And you guys let me know if I missed the mark or there were one or two that I may have missed, but I just tried to, whittle them down to, a more manageable number. So I chose 8, but these were the top preferences that we saw based on the survey and community meetings. The residents wanted a well-connected trail network. They wanted you to conserve the natural areas. They wanted to be sure to have picnic areas, as well as outdoor learning spaces. A big thing was year-round restrooms. I definitely remember hearing that. It came up numerous times. Of course, they want to preserve the equestrian facilities. They want to see large rectangular fields and our agricultural facilities. They wanted to see some farm to table. I remember someone was talking about, some hydroponics. So you definitely have the space to do these things. It's just a matter of when and how you want to have them done, whether you want to phase these out, take some of the lower hanging fruit ones first, or how you want to go about doing this. But these were definitely the ones that stood out based on my experiences with the community and the data that you guys provided, the summaries from the survey and the community meetings. Was there anything else that we may have missed that you guys would add to this list?
Tanya, I think it's a good list. Jim Klein's going to be presenting a little bit more detail at the task force meeting on the 23rd of February. So
Okay.
he's kind of already worked on a presentation, but this pretty much aligns with some of the things that Jim is coming up with. So I think you heard it pretty well.
Okay. So great. All right. So that's that slide. So moving on. In our LPPRP document, we did come up with some service area 3 recommendations. And so I'll kind of summarize these really quick, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about what's on the table. So the recommendations are to redesign our existing parks to include additional facilities or community parkland in the areas of Mitchellville or Fairwood. We also want to make sure that we conduct master plans for the Patuxent River Park and Glendale Park, as well as Enterprise Park. We want to utilize our park enhancement program to replace a lot of our aging facilities and infrastructure, particularly in some of the lower equity areas of Goddard, Glendale, and Lanham. Um, Additionally, we want to enhance our connectivity by connecting our trails to our park facilities, our schools, our activity centers, transit hubs in areas of new development. Trails are big in the county. They are widely used. I mean, even pre-pandemic, we had a lot of trail users, but then, during the pandemic, folks were on those trails and on those parks every day, and they still continue to use them. I think people have a fond appreciation for the amenities that we have, so we want to make sure, that we improve on those trails. And then we also want to utilize the parkland dedication program to make sure, that our residents are served adequately, by our parks. So those are our overall Service 3 recommendations. Um, and so when we looked at our existing facilities in Service Area 3, based on those classifications that I talked to you briefly about earlier, the level 1, the level 2, the level 3, we have what level of service we recommend, per resident. Um, and so if you look at the diamond fields, we have, the level 1 and 2 classifications, we have the level of service recommended, and then the number of facilities that exist currently, as well as the number of facilities that are needed. So we went through and, we find that, at a level 1 level, 1 per, 22,000 people, we would probably need 5 diamond fields. At a level 3, you would need 6. And so, you can read all this for yourself. So I'm not going to waste your time, going through each of these facility types. But what stood out was that there is a large need for hard surface courts and picnic facilities, as you see here. So I highlighted those. So at a level 2 for the hard surface court, which is 1 per, 1,200 residents. Right now we have 1, like maybe 1.5. But our analysis is saying that we need 22. And so when you look at the picnic facilities at a level 1 and a level 2, we need both 57 and 39. So this basically, so I'm, basically implying that these are some things that you guys that you guys may want to look at the Bowie racetrack property as far as installing them. Some of the other ones, there's a lower need, but these are pretty high, 22, 57, and 39. Uh, Service Area 6 recommendations, similar table, a little bit different on the data, but very, very similarly. But the recommendations are, dog parks, level 3 rectangular fields, picnic facilities, hard courts, aquatics. Also want to the recommendation is also asking to acquire neighborhood parkland along US 301 near the Kettering community. And I know that, most of this is outside of the Bowie boundary, but nonetheless, it's still Service Area 6. Looking at park enhancement programs in Largo, Oak Grove, so on and so forth. Continuing to implement the Watkins Regional Park Master Plan recommendation. I know this is outside of the city limits, but a lot of Bowie residents use Watkins Regional Park. It's a huge draw. It's come up, time and time again as a favorite for a lot of our area residents. And then last but not least, we want to make sure that we construct the new Westphalia Regional Park. Um, and that's coming along slowly but surely, but it will happen in time. So if you look at the table, again, we're showing the gap between what's needed and the existing facilities in Service Area 6. Sort of similar to Service Area 3, the numbers are for hard surface courts and picnic facilities, the highest number of facilities that are needed. If you look at level 2 for the hard surface courts, right now we have less than one, and we need 10 of them. And then for picnic facilities, the levels 2 and 3, again, we have less than one, and we need 30 and 43. So again, these are things that hopefully you guys will consider placing at the Bowie Racetrack property, and also think that they align with what the community wanted as well. And so these are some of our future developments in both Service Areas 3 and 6. They're combined together, you know, uh, and they're a variety of different amenities. So we have several different playgrounds. We list the address as well as the service area, and then we provide you with the project status. So we let you know, whether this is something that's ongoing, that's planned, that's underway, um, so on and so forth. So you see those all here, and it's quite a bit. And then this slide, there are some that have come up that we weren't able to include on the previous table. So I just listed them out. So for Sandy Hill Park, which is in Service Area 3, I'll go back on the map and show you exactly where that is. And then for Green Branch Park, which is also in Service Area 3, and then we have the National Capital Business Park, which is in Service Area 6. I'm not sure if many of you are aware of this, but it's a large scale business park off of 301, just south of 214, that's coming under construction. And as a result of it, the developer is going to dedicate a 20-acre park, which will also include a large stream valley park, some baseball fields, cricket field with concessions. Um, well, they're dedicating the land, but we're going to put all this other stuff in. Let me clarify that they're not going to, they're not going to get into, putting in pickleball courts and that sort of thing. But it's also going to have Collington Branch Trail, a dog park, an open play area, and a fitness area. So we're all looking very forward, to that coming to fruition. But at Sandy Hill Park, which is in Service Area 3, we're going to be putting in a baseball field, a parking lot, picture shelter with grills, a loop trail, and a playground. Green Branch Park, we're putting in 4 diamond fields, which will include softball, um, concessions and restrooms, a center plaza, 2 rectangular fields, a practice field, bleachers, lighting and irrigation, as well as parking and infrastructure. So those are some of our new improvements and some and actually a new park. So we're excited, about these things happening. So yeah. Um, so we've also included some of our current and planned facilities. So we list these out. Some of them were in the previous table. So I know it's a lot, and I'm hoping you all can see it because it's in Teams. I tried to make the font as large as I could. Are you able to see this pretty well?
Yes, it reads pretty clearly.
Okay, good. All right, because if I made it any bigger, it would have taken up too much space on the in the table. But basically, we listed all of our non-aquatic facilities on the left-hand side. We list our Bowie, Glendale, Good Luck, Huntington, some of our recreational facilities, specialty centers, and then you'll see the aquatics are at the bottom. But if you go along the top of it, you see the populations for 2010, for 2020, and 2040. So we included this information to help with the discussion about whether or not the 50,000 square foot community building would be sufficient. So if you look under Glendale, right now it's 16,800 square feet. Um, Glendale is actually one of our multi-generational sites. Um, and so what's going to happen is the Glendale Community Center is going to be torn down and a new multi-gen facility is going to be constructed. And so it's just, I'm sure most of you are familiar with our multi-gen facilities. They're to serve, all different generations. They'll have an abundance of amenities. They'll be huge because the goal is to move away from some of the smaller community centers and to have, more larger, robust facilities that serve a variety of different people and provide, more amenities for those people. So the Glendale Community Center is going to be 137,000 square feet. The Good Luck Community Center, that one is going to be 25,000 square feet. So now if you look under the years, under 2010, it says, based on the 2010 population, the current and planned square feet, it's recommended that we have 173,000 square feet of facilities, which leaves a gap of 58,794. If you go into the years of 2020, the population was 134,000. The square feet needed is 87,000. And then if you look at 2040, the population is expected to rise to 140,000. The recommended square feet is 210, which leaves a gap of 96,000 square feet. Again, it goes along with aquatics as well. If you look at the Glendale Splash Park, it's 19,000. And then the outdoor pool total, which is basically just the Glendale Splash Park, is 19,000. So that may be something you guys may want to look at placing on the property as well. If you look at the population for 2010, you need 19,000 of aquatics. 2020, 22,000, and 2040 it's estimated that we will actually need 23,000 of indoor aquatics and 27,000 of outdoor aquatics. So that is service area 3. Uh, this is service area 6. There is the new planned multi-gen at Westphalia. You'll see under the non-aquatic facilities along the left. The new multi-gen square feet is 105, 105,000 square feet for the Westphalia Community Center. If you look at the years along the top for 2010, it was estimated that we needed 6,000. For 2020, 13,000, and for 2040, 35,000. Looking at the aquatics at the bottom, there isn't an aquatic facility that exists currently in District 6. But we estimated that we needed 16,000 for the 2010 population, 16,000 remaining for 2020, and for 2040, with the 116,000 population, we estimate that we would need 19,000 for indoor and 38,000 for outdoor. I know, again, that this is service area 6, which is, not directly in the path of the Bowie racetrack, but I just wanted to just share this information with you all, just to kind of get you thinking about, the type of things that you want to put on the racetrack property as a whole. And so I referenced two things during the conversation. I provided you a link to our LPPRP document. It's the draft document. It's going to say draft on it. The information is primarily going to stay the same. We just went through some formatting changes, and once we get those done, it'll probably be by month's end. You'll see the final document posted on the site, but for now, you just want to go in and look at the draft. It's there. Our Park Finder site, which lists all of our parks and all of the various different amenities, in which we were able to compile those tables, which I showed you. And then we have a link to our multi-generational centers, where you can learn more about, what the multi-generational centers are, how large they are. If I'm remembering correctly, they are between 60 and 80,000 square feet in size. So if you're asking whether or not, the 50,000 that you guys are considering is sufficient, I would maybe say that you possibly start by looking at, all of the things that the community has proposed. Where we've showed you the gaps and things are, um, and hopefully that'll help you make a determination on, how large you feel the facility is based on, the two multi-generational facilities that we have proposed for District 3 and 6, and the type of things that you want to have in the future. So that is it. That concludes my presentation. And I guess we can go back to the slide that had the questions, and we can try to answer some of those. But I think we did, talk about some of them. Are you guys able to see the questions again?
Yes, and
Okay.
Tanya, thank you very much for the very interesting presentation. I did want to mention that our chairperson, Robert Day, has joined us, and we also have the vice chair, Derek Coley. And I think what I'd like to do is either let Derek or Robert sort of be the MC here for the rest of the presentation, because I think Robert was the one that had a lot of the questions to begin with. So, Robert, why don't you take it away, and we'll try to get questions from the task force.
Well, I think you did a great job. I know I was a little late, but from what I saw, I think you did a great job in explaining, what is around us and what is coming in the future and what we should be looking at. I think for the task point uh, point of view, I think one of the things we need to think about is, where do we see real, true cross connects from what you guys are doing and what we're thinking about doing? And how can we help alleviate some of, that need for space
Mm-hmm.
that you guys would need that could fit inside of our environment here with the Bowie racetrack? Do you have any insight on that?
Well, honestly, it's going to take a little bit more than just this meeting.
Right. I fully understand.
Yeah, no. I mean, but based on what the community wanted to see, I don't know if you saw the slide that I included. I put up a slide a little bit earlier. It was about 8 items. Let me see if I can find that in my slide shorter, that the community wanted. And so we are actually in agreement with these things. It's this slide here. Wanting, to connect the trail network, conserving the natural areas, picnicking, fields, preserving the equestrian facilities, year-round restrooms. Please have those year-round restrooms. I heard that. And I'm making a joke about it, but I heard that I don't know how many times at the meeting in December. They are very adamant about those restrooms, and so I think you should make sure that you include those. But we are not opposed to any of these items, and we think that these will be um, great attributes and amenities for you guys to include. We provided you also, with the table that shows you where the gaps are and the things that we thought that you should include as well. Let me see if I can find those tables. But I think that those are, truly where you guys may want to start. I know this is not an easy task or something that you are, trying to do willy-nilly. I know you're trying to make sure that you provide, the highest and best uses for this site. And I think in starting here, is probably, a good idea. I guess I just got confused. Hold on. I showed the
Well,
gaps.
I think that's a good point for us to be
Here
able
we go.
to,
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to start a discussion within the task force to really kind of start narrowing down, some yays and nays. But I'm going to, really depend on our task force members to pull together and kind of, we still want to dream big
Mhm.
because we're not thinking money right now. We're just dreaming big. We want to look at what we
Right.
can do.
Like
and
if money was limited, if money was limitless, what could we do?
Yes. We want to dream like we got an endless pocket. But we also have to be realistic and think, what can we actually fit into this space that meets the true needs of our community as a whole? So I think that's where we really have to understand, what can we find partners to do things with, and parking planning is the greatest partner we could have for a scenario like what we're working in. So I'm gonna pass it off to Derek if you have any questions or anything, or anyone else that in the task force, but Derek, take the floor.
No, Robert, thank you. And Ms. Hedgepath, thank you as well. I found this presentation extremely enlightening, especially with respect to the projected population increases throughout the county and surrounding some of the regional centers and other areas within the community centers. I just think this was extremely enlightening. And to Robert's point regarding the synergy between what we're trying to accomplish at the racetrack and what you all are bringing online, that's extremely helpful as well.
Great. And so I put the map up again that shows you, the various different amenity types that exist currently. And that's service area 6. Let me go back to service area 3, which is exactly where the racetrack is. So you can kind of see where, where some of the gaps exist. We included them on the tables. And like I said, we are not opposed to any of the items that the community wanted. And I think that's a good start.
Yeah, that's always a good start when you find something that you agree on. So I'm gonna reach out to my task force members that are here. Anyone have questions, raise your hand or speak up. Would love to hear what you have to say. No one?
Don't be shy. I know we didn't cover everything, or maybe we did. We tried to be thorough.
Hey, Tanya, this is Nick Spurgeon with the City of Bowie. How are you?
I'm good, Nick. How are you?
Good, good. So the numbers that you came up with, the projections that go all the way back from like 2010, I'm assuming those are like national standards. Yeah, we're basing that off of some kind of national recreation plan standard as to what we should have based on population size.
I believe they are. I don't have the person on the call today who created this table, but I'll definitely provide you with the background on how those numbers were generated.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is how do we blend?
I probably should have sourced it, but I forgot.
Yeah. So I was part of the 2040. Thank you, Sonia. I see her NRPA standards. So how do we take into account and blend that information with what our actual usage experience and participation experience is here in the county. And I'm not anticipating an answer right now. I'm just I'm planting.
It's a question for the task force as a whole.
Yeah. I'm planting a seed. You know, the baseball diamonds that you showed here that demonstrate that we have a very high need. I did field allocations here in Bowie, both 3 and 6 area. And the baseball participation levels are not as high as like the rectangular fields as an example. And then back in 2010, I don't want to claim, but pickleball probably wasn't even around as an example. And now there's this huge surgence of pickleball. So taking into account those kind of activities that we're getting a lot of requests for. Again, I'm not something we're going to solve today, but something I wanted to plant a seed here that when we look at those projections that you have on the screen right now, that say we need 5 I can't see, sorry, level 1 diamonds or 6 level 3 diamonds. And then I compare and contrast to the actual allocations and what we're getting requests for here in the community. They don't necessarily blend 100%. So, but anyway, I just planted a seed here for future discussion.
All right, thank you for that.
Thank you.
I had a quick question of clarification, Tanya. The hard surface courts, are those indoor or outdoor? So it could be either or?
I believe it could be either or.
Okay, I wanted to make sure it was not just indoor.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Just want to add to that. This table is all outdoor amenities.
Oh, this is all outdoor. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Thank you,
this
Tanya.
is all outdoor. The other table that she showed that was a square footage number is all indoor. But that doesn't mean that you couldn't, understand this and say, we're going to do dedicated court space because we understand that need may be something that we want to accommodate indoor year round. And something I would ask you all to consider, I think we learned a lot from the pandemic. When you try to strongly encourage outdoor recreation, for the health issues and other things that we found during the pandemic, having covered court space was something that we really don't have in the county, that we thought could be an amenity. And so I would ask you guys to think about, as you go into this, the big opportunity, I think, is to build things at a level of trying to find the right words, being careful about my words. So we may not, we at Department of Parks and Planning would have a hard time going out and determining Bowie to be the right place to build covered courts when we don't have covered courts in other places. We would probably look to do that at a regional park that services the most people. So you have the unique opportunity to build an amenity at the highest level of service, which could be covered, with bathrooms from the very beginning, that we may not be able to do in Bowie, because it would be competition for that same amenity countywide, and we would have to justify one location versus another. Is that making sense?
Oh, it does, because you are able to do things that we may not be able to do.
Right. That we would have demand for. Why are you not building this at Westphalia, or why are you not building this in Hydesville? This is the opportunity that municipalities have to bring, is to up the level of service by doing unique things like adding shade. The city of Hydesville, for example, built in food truck pads, and the electricity needed for food truck pads, and a small performance space with a covered area and seating, in kind of a neighborhood scale park. We wouldn't have done that in the city of Hyattsville. That was something that they were able to add in addition to meet the needs of their residents who wanted evening activities that were walkable. So I would say think about with this the opportunity to layer on an additional level of quality, detail, amenity that may not be able to happen. So when you look at the picnic space, you probably just don't want to put out grills and picnic tables, right? You can do a special picnic space that specifically services the city of Bowie residents at a level that may be higher than what we have at Watkins, may be nicer than what we have at a neighborhood park for sure. So I would say think about it that way. It may not be the actual numbers. You maybe want to think about quality.
Those are all good points. Thanks, Sonia.
So anyone else have a question or a comment that they would like for the group?
No? Well, if you think of anything after this meeting, certainly feel free, to send it forward and we'll do our best to get it answered. As soon as we log off, I'm gonna send this PowerPoint to Joe and he can disseminate it to the task force so that everybody has a copy of it.
I want to say thank you for taking the time. I know I kind of hit this with you, put this on you at the last meeting, and thank you for putting this together. This is a wealth of information that is going to give us the opportunity to dig a little bit deeper in what we look for in building out the racetrack. I think that's something that we all want to see. I know the number of 50,000 square feet seems to be a restraint, but we might have to think about how we can expand that a little bit, not too much more, because I don't think it needs to be 100,000.
Right, but that's why we gave you the multi-gen information. So.
And I want you guys to really understand what that number is. That's a giant number.
Yeah, it is.
50,000. Sports and learning is 120. And a big part of that is that indoor track. We have an indoor track, a competition pool, a recreation pool, and a gymnastics center. So that's 120. I don't know if any of you guys have been to our SARC center yet, but it's a huge, it has a small competition pool, not as big as sports and learning, a smaller recreation pool, a double gymnasium, and then multiple multi-purpose spaces. That's 60,000 square feet. So when you're talking about a 50,000 square foot facility, that's a big facility. And what we found when we costed, we costed 3 multi-gen facilities. And I think Tanya put the link to that presentation in in that website. You're probably thinking most similar when you look at those presentations. Look at our Glen Ridge one. I think our Glen Ridge cost estimate was coming in, I want to say the $60 to $70 million range.
Okay.
We're looking to do one at Prince George's Plaza to replace that center there. It's our oldest one. That was over 100 million. And then the Glen Ridge one, we want to create a regional, and when we say regional here, we mean up and down the East Coast competition aquatic facility. We heard that there was a gap in the East Coast region for really specific aquatic competition, from water polo to synchronized swimming to diving to competition swim. That we had with that location, an opportunity to meet that niche for the region, but also kind of bring those sports into the county in a unique way. And that facility was over 100 million in the cost estimate, largely because that pool will have spectator seating, and other things in addition to the double gymnasium and the multi-purpose space, and then the outdoor fields. We own 25 acres behind that facility. So just to give you a sense of the cost and the scale, that 50, and this was before our costing was right before the pandemic has thrown the numbers, even more out of whack. So I would say at minimum, you're looking at a $50 million facility if you're saying 50,000 square foot, if not, adding 20+% to that.
So did she scare you guys yet?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that. So just as you prioritize, just thinking about those things. But if it's just a barn, you know what I mean? If it's just a barn, like the piece that's on sports and learning for the track, then that significantly cuts down. But when you add, the level of court amenities and other things to it, that's when that number just escalates really quickly.
Well, all right. If you guys don't have any other questions, like I said, if you think of anything, please let us know. We'll get your questions answered, and I'll send the PowerPoint over to Joe momentarily. And
Okay,
thank you guys for the opportunity to chat with you this morning.
Yeah, thanks, Tanya. And I will I've recorded the meeting, so we'll have a recording put on the city website. We'll put the link on the racetrack page. And really, more discussion is going to come up at that meeting on the 23rd of the full task force. And we're really getting ready. And this really helps us to get ready to have those discussions. So we really appreciate your time and all the effort putting it together.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.
All right. Have a good one. So long.